So years ago, when I was going through school, my teachers, professors would tell me that, natural selection, survival of the fittest, was what caused many adaptations that we see today in evolution. I used to believe that and nod my head and agree with it. But as time went on, I had a problem with that. And in more modern evolutionary circles, people who really think through things, most evolutionists nowadays will also agree that natural selection does not create anything new in evolution. It does not bring evolution forward. Think about this for a second. Just consider this. Here's two eggs. One is slightly lighter than the other one. Slightly bigger, a little bit of differences. So let's say we're going to select one egg over another. Let's pretend we get rid of this egg. Now let's ask ourselves two questions. Did our selection have anything to do with these two eggs coming into existence? No, it didn't. All we did was select one or the other, but the selection did not produce these eggs. Here's the second question. Once we made a selection of one egg over the other, did it change this egg in any way, shape, or form? No, it did not change this egg. It's still the exact same egg as it was before. The only difference we have now is the fact that we're limited to having, instead of two varieties of eggs, we only have one. Now, we see that in natural selection within the environment. In fact, I was told a creationist was actually the one who came up with the idea of natural selection. The whole point comes down to that, yes, we see species which are going extinct, and their natural selection is getting rid of them. But as far as causing these species to develop and become something more complex, selecting one over the other simply has absolutely nothing to do with it. And as far as survival of the fittest, that's another story. Years ago when I was wrestling with evolution, I seen this poor little seagull, and it was missing its leg from the kneecap down on one side. And I think that poor little bird, it's probably having a hard time. But then I observed that it was rather plump. It was a little bit chunkier than other seagulls, and yet it was missing half of its leg. And it's like, that's really not that fit to survive. Well, about 2 weeks later, I was sitting at the beach again, and I seen another seagull. This time, the seagull happened to have a deformed bill. So instead of both parts of the bill coming together at the end, one was lopped to one side, the other was to the other side, so they didn't meet. And it had to turn its head a little bit sideways in order to pick up food to eat. Yet it was a full adult, and yet it was completely healthy. And it's like, okay, neither one of these birds are, the fittest within the species. So how is it natural selection didn't get rid of them? Then I got to thinking a little bit more. Take Bubba the polar bear. If you take Bubba the polar bear and put him in the Sahara Desert, he goes from being the apex predator fit for survival to the absolute loser of the Sahara Desert. He's only got a short period of time before he's got to expire. On the other hand, let's take the camel, which is very well suitable for desert environments. Put him up in Antarctica. He's only got probably a few hours to, a few days to survive, realistically. So that got me to thinking that really survival of the fittest is not survival of the fittest, it's survival of the fit enough for its environment. Otherwise, it just, again, gets destroyed. And it really doesn't change anything. So weeding out the inferior ones, again, it just limits the selection. It doesn't do anything as far as making these come into existence or changing it after the selection happens. That's why most of your modern evolutionists do not believe that natural selection is a causation for evolution. And creationists would agree too. Think for yourself on that. Think over what I've said. I challenge you.